The story begins. We built the place with our hands. Timber came from the north woods. Stone came from the riverbed. Sun hit the big hall just right. They worked hard there. Everyone had a job. The air felt clean in those days. You could smell pine and fresh bread. Mornings brought the ring of a bell. It called us to eat. It called us to work. Old man Silas always rang it. His hands were big and worn. He had a smile for every child. One morning the bell stayed quiet. The sun still rose, birds still sang. No ring filled the valley air. We waited at our doors. No one moved first. No one spoke. A different sound came then. A thin cough from Silas's door. It was a small sound. It cut through the quiet. Breakfast started late that day. The bread was cold. You watch a thing, it shift. Small turns happen. Nobody sees the line move. Silas stopped ringing the bell. Someone else took the rope. His face was new. His hands were smooth. The bell still rang. The sound was flat. It did not carry the same way. People met at the hall. They ate. Fewer hands worked the field. The weeds grew tall by the fence line. No one pulled them, not like before. The paths wore thin. Dust rose. The quiet settled in deeper. You could feel its weight. You could feel its weight. The storehouse door stuck more often. No one greased its hinges. The shelves grew bare. We ate the same grain, day after day. The milk ran thin. The spring water felt colder on the tongue. Fewer voices called out in the yard. Children played near their own doors. Their games stayed quiet. Their laughter did not carry far. Then the tools changed. The old spades had wood handles. They were smooth from hands. The new ones had cold metal grips. They hurt your palm. They did not last as long. A tool broke, it stayed broken. No one fixed it. The pile grew by the shed wall. Someone started taking their meals alone. Then another. The long tables in the hall felt too big, too empty. The clatter of forks seemed loud, too loud in the quiet. The faces looked down. They watched their plates. You know it is a strange thing to watch something just go, not break, not fall, just drain out like water from a cracked pot. It just happens, no big noise. The lamps in the hall burned low at night. Someone forgot to fill the oil or did not care to. The shadows grew long, they swallowed the corners. The fire in the hearth put out less heat. The smoke smelled different. It had a damp, heavy feel. We went to bed earlier. We stayed in our small rooms. The doors stayed shut. The sounds from outside were few, just the wind or a small scuttle in the dark. No one asked after Silas anymore. His door stayed shut too. Always, we never saw him again, just the quiet and the cold. That's how it went. Little by little, the spring planting went slow. The ground was hard that year. Fewer hands worked the soil. The seeds lay cold in the earth. The well water tasted flat. No one spoke much at meals. Their eyes did not meet. The food turned thin on the plates. Old bowls sat unwashed by the sink for days. A smell of stale bread hung in the kitchen. The common hall stayed empty. Dust lay on the long table. The weaving loom stood still. Its threads hung loose like old hair. No one sang in the evenings. The fiddles hung quiet on the wall hooks. A pane of glass broke in the north window. It let in the cold wind. No one fixed it. It feels strange to think back. How easily things change. A small crack can let out a whole life. You see it here. The woodpile dwindled fast. Chopping logs felt like a chore for one man, not a shared task. The fire went out more often. We wore more clothes inside. Our breath showed white in the air. The nights grew long. We did not share stories. We kept to our beds. Each door was a hard wall. Then a cart came, not a big one. It had one horse, a man from the next valley. He spoke low. He asked for the last few, the ones left. We took what we owned, small bags, one blanket each. We walked past the empty fields. The fence posts leaned. The gate hung loose. No one looked back. The quiet stayed behind us. It clung to the empty house. The road felt hard underfoot. Rocks poked through our worn shoes. The horse pulled slow. Its head hung low. We heard the cart wheels groan. No one spoke. The sun went down fast. A dark stripe grew across the sky. The air turned sharp. Our breath made clouds again. The man with the horse watched us. He did not say much. He just clucked at his beast. The cart held our few things, mostly cloth, some wood bowls, not much. We walked for hours. My legs burned. My shoulders ached from the small bag. The moon came up. It was a thin hook. It gave little light. We saw trees like black shapes. The path got narrow. We kept walking. He stopped near a stream. Its water ran cold and loud. Here, he said. His voice was rough. He pointed to a small lean-to. It was built of rough poles. A canvas sheet made the roof. A fire pit sat cold. Not much, he added. He did not look at us. He looked at the horse. We put our bags down. The ground was hard dirt. It smelled of damp leaves. The cart man went to his horse. He gave it some dry grass. We sat close. The cold bit our fingers. We pulled our blankets tight. No one made a fire. We had no wood. He did not offer any. This is how it goes. Some things break and then more break. You watch it happen and then you are out in the cold. Morning came gray. A thin mist hung low. We saw our breath. The man was already gone. His cart tracks stayed in the dirt. No note, no word, just the empty space where he had been. The lean-to felt small. It offered little shelter. We saw the stream. It moved fast. It made a constant sound. We had no food, only the cold air to eat. We walked to the stream. The water was clear. We drank with cupped hands. It stung our mouths. We looked at each other. Our faces were stiff. No one had a plan. No one spoke a word. We just stood there. The quiet felt heavy now. Heavier than the bags we carried. We turned and walked along the stream bank. One step, then another. They walked. The sun did not show itself. The mist stayed. Cold sank deep into our bones. The ground felt hard under our boots. Our packs pulled at our shoulders. We kept moving. The stream ran on our left. Its sound filled the air. No birds sang, no wind blew, just the water and our feet on the dirt. We walked for hours. My throat felt dry again. My stomach ached. We saw a hill ahead. Trees stood thick on its side. It looked like a good place. A place to get out of the open. We walked toward it. The climb took our breath. We stopped often. Our legs felt weak. Near the top, we found a small cave. It was more like a deep cut in the rock face. It smelled of damp earth. But it was out of the wind. We dropped our bags inside. The rock felt cold to the touch. We tried to make a fire. We had no dry wood, only wet leaves. They smoked. They did not burn. The dark came quick. We sat close. Our bodies made little heat. We heard things outside, the rustle of dry leaves, a snap of a twig, the sound of water still running below us. We did not speak. No one slept well. The ground felt hard. The air bit. Morning, it came slow. Gray light crept in. Our mouths were dry. Our joints hurt. We stood up stiffly. The cave was just a hole. It held no comfort. We looked out. The mist was gone. A pale sun showed itself. It gave no warmth. We walked back down the hill to the stream. We drank. The cold water shocked us. We had to find food or someone to help. We kept walking along the bank. The stream grew wider here. It moved slower. Then we saw it, a small boat. It sat by the bank, tied to a thick root. It was old. Wood was rough. A coil of rope lay inside. No one was near it. We looked at each other. No one said a word. The boat just sat there. It waited. You see things, a small boat by the bank. They just are, but they hold more weight than you expect. We went to the boat. The wood felt rough under our hands. It smelled of river mud. We climbed in, one after another. It rocked a little. We untied the rope. Someone pushed off the bank with a stick. We floated. The current took us. The world seemed to pass by. Trees, banks, rocks. It all moved past. We sat still. The water made soft sounds against the wood. Our hands grew cold on the boat's edge. We did not know where the river went. We did not care, not then. We just moved, away from the quiet, away from the empty space, away from the broken things. The river pulled us, slow, steady. The air grew damp. A mist hung low. It touched our faces, cold. The trees on the banks became taller, darker. Their branches met overhead. The light grew dim. The river narrowed. The sounds of the water changed. It gurgled now, a deeper sound. The boat scraped the bank once, a harsh noise. We did not speak. No one looked back, only forward to the moving water, to the dim space ahead. The boat smelled of wet wood and something else, old mud. The river kept pulling us. It showed no end. You follow a path, then it splits. You pick one. You don't know what's on the other. You only know what's under your feet. We saw lights. A blur at first, through the mist. Small points, then bigger. They shimmered on the water. We did not steer. The boat drifted towards them. A low shape grew from the bank, a dark wall. We heard a small bell. It rang once. Then silence. A boat came out from the wall. It was smaller than ours. One person sat in it. They held a long pole they pushed against the water towards us. No words were called out. We just watched. The small boat bumped our hull, a soft knock. The person reached out, a hand rough and hard. They gripped our boat. They pulled us in, closer to the wall. The wall grew high above us. It was made of stone, cold stone. We felt the boat stop. It touched the stone. The journey was done for now. The wall felt cold against my hand. We waited. No one spoke. The person in the small boat tied a rope to a ring on the stone. A door opened in the wall, not a big door, low and narrow, a gap in the dark. A man stood there, tall. He held a lamp. Its light barely reached us. He did not smile. He just looked. His eyes moved over us all, slow, careful. He spoke. His voice was flat, out. We stepped from the boat onto wet stone. The air was damp and still, and turned. He walked into the dark. We followed. The door shut behind us. We heard the bolt slide, a heavy sound. It echoed. We were inside. The path was rough, uneven underfoot. It went down, a slope. We moved through a tunnel. The lamp ahead swung a bit. Shadows danced on the walls. The air grew colder. We smelled earth and old water. After a time, the path leveled out. We heard voices, faint at first, then clearer, a murmur. The tunnel ended. We stepped out into a cavern, big, much bigger than I thought. A weak light filled it from vents high up, or holes. I don't know what it was. People worked down below or moved things. They did not look up. Their heads stayed down, focused on their tasks. The tall man led us to a small room. A table stood in the middle, rough wood, 2 chairs. He pointed to them. Sit. We sat. The room was bare, stone walls, a lamp on the table. Its wick smoked a little. He placed a sheet of paper before us, blank. He gave us a thin piece of charcoal. Tell your names, we told him. One by one. He wrote nothing down, just watched our faces. His eyes were like chipped stone, hard, unmoving. You know, some places just feel like that, closed off, tight. The air itself feels thin, it never quite lets go. He folded his arms, his gaze dropped to the charcoal. You came from the river. He said it, not asked it. Why? We shifted. The chairs creaked. His words hung in the air, heavy like a wet cloth. He waited, not rushing, his eyes still. We knew what he meant. What trouble followed us, or what trouble we brought. Our mouths felt dry. Hands went to pockets. Feet shifted on the wood. The air got thick. No one spoke. A man, Ben, cleared his throat. He had a scratchy voice. He spoke low. We seek safe ground. We just want to farm, grow food. The other man did not move. His face stayed plain. He picked up a small rock. It was smooth. He turned it in his fingers. You cross lands. That river runs deep, past town limits. His eyes fixed on Ben. The town wants its due. Ben swallowed hard. A vein stood out on his neck. We pay no tax to them. We work our own dirt. The man put the rock down. He slid a map across the table. It was old, crinkled, lines marked in red. Our eyes followed the lines. They cut through woods, past a small creek, right up to the river bend. This stretch of water, he said. He tapped a spot. It's claimed not by us, by their paper. The mayor sent word. They want a cut for river use, for passage. He spoke without heat, just plain fact. A chill ran through the room. Not from the air, from the words. Ben frowned. We just travel, we fish, we drink it. The man gave a short nod. They call it a fee. For those who pass through, for those who stay near. You know, sometimes you just see things like that. Simple rules for simple things, but then they change. And what was yours suddenly isn't. He pushed the map closer. They want names, a list, of all who came across and what you carry. Our eyes darted to each other, faces tight. He gave no smile. His words were flat, or they send their own men to collect. The lamp wick flickered. A shadow stretched across the wall. It looked long and thin. The air grew still. Ben's jaw worked. He pushed a hand through his hair. A few old women sat close. Their hands picked at threads. The man from town cleared his throat. He did not look at us. He looked at the map. They want an answer, he said, by sun up. He folded the paper, put it in his coat. His eyes swept the room. They rested on no one. Ben stood up. We have nothing to hide. His voice was low. We take nothing. We just pass. The man just nodded. Their rules, he said, not mine. He turned to go. The door opened. Cold night air rushed in. It smelled of river mud and damp earth. He stepped out. The door closed soft. Silence pressed down. The lamplight felt weaker now. Ben walked to the window. He looked out. We heard the distant splash of a fish or a stone. One man cleared his throat. "What do we do?" he asked. The words hung heavy in the air. "We give them names." A woman shook her head. Her face was pale. "It's a way in," she whispered. "Once they have names, they have us." Ben turned from the window. His face was a stone. "We go to them," he said. "First light. We talk." Another man grunted. "They want talk. They want names and coin." He slapped his knee. A sharp sound. "It's always the same. They want more, then more. You see how things change, little by little. A small toll here, a new rule there." Ben said nothing to that. He just looked at us. His eyes moved from face to face. We all knew. The river was our way, our only way to leave, to find food, to trade the small things we made. Now it had a price, a tax or a guard, and we had to choose, to pay it or to fight it. And fighting meant what? We had no walls, no weapons, just our hands and the river. The lamp oil burned low, its light sputtered, then held steady, just barely. Morning came cold. A damp air clung to skin. We ate cold oat mush. No one spoke much. Ben put on his heavy coat. His boots scraped the floor. The sound was loud. Outside, the sky was gray. It promised no sun, just more cold. We walked in a line, 6 men. No women came, no young ones either. The path was mud. Our steps made wet sounds. We heard the river before we saw it, the rush of water. A cold smell hung in the air, like wet stone and old wood. We came to the old bridge. It was wood, loose planks. 2 men stood there, not ours. They had thick coats and knives at their belts, big knives. One man held a long stick. He leaned on it. His face was wide. His eyes were small. Ben walked ahead. He stopped near the bridge. We stopped behind him. The air felt thin. "Morning," Ben said. His voice was flat. The big man just looked at Ben. He said nothing back. He shifted his weight. His eyes went over us. Then back to Ben. His hand went to his knife. He did not pull it out. He just let his fingers rest there. "We need to pass," Ben said. "For wood, for fish." "Price," the big man said. His voice was rough, like stones rubbing. "What price?" Ben asked. "1 fish in 10, the big man said. 1 log in 5, and names, who goes out, who comes in." Ben stood still. A long breath went in, it went out. We could see the steam. "That's new," Ben said. "It is now," the big man said. He grinned a small grin. It did not touch his eyes. Another man, thin and quick, stepped forward. He held out a small, flat stone. "For your names," he said. "Write them here. We keep it." Ben looked at the stone, then at the thin man, then back to the big man. His hand stayed open at his sides. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? When a line gets drawn, then moved, how many times can that happen before there is nothing left? Ben took a step closer to the bridge. The big man did not move. His hand stayed on his knife. The thin man held the stone out. It felt like a stone wall, not a river crossing. Ben looked at the river. The water moved fast. It made a deep sound. He looked at us. His face was a closed door. He knew what we had, not much. He knew what we needed, everything. He reached into his coat. He pulled out a small leather pouch. It clinked softly. He held it out. "We pay the coin," Ben said. "Not the names, not the fish, just coin for today." The big man watched the pouch. His eyes followed it. He took it. His fingers closed around it. The pouch disappeared into his coat. "Tomorrow," he said, "the rules stand: names, fish, wood, or no pass." Ben turned. He looked at the river again, then at us. No one spoke. We had not crossed. We had paid for nothing. The cold wind picked up. It bit at our ears. We turned back. Our boots made tracks in the mud. The river kept rushing. We heard it for a long time. The path back was long. The mud sucked at our boots. The air bit hard. No one said a word. Ben walked in front. His back was stiff. We saw the camp lights, small yellow squares. Smoke went up from the fire pit. It smelled of damp wood. We came into the circle. Faces turned to us. They asked nothing. Their eyes asked. Ben shook his head, just once. He went to the fire. He poked the logs. Sparks flew up. He did not sit. He stood there. His hands hung loose. One woman came to him. Her name was Alara. She put a hand on his arm. He did not move. Her hand fell away. The fire snapped. A man spoke then. His voice was low. "We paid coin," he said. Ben nodded. "For no pass?" the man asked. Ben nodded again. The man kicked at a stone. It skittered in the dirt. A girl came with a small fish. It was thin. She held it up. This small, she asked. Her voice was a whisper. Ben looked at the fish. He did not speak. We had little food. The river gate was closed. We had no names to give. Most folk here had none. It was a hard choice. Some looked at Ben. Their faces were flat. His shoulders seemed to sink. It is hard to choose when all paths hurt. Sometimes a debt gets paid with more than coin. Then the cost stays with you. The night grew deep. A few stood up. They walked to the edge of camp. They looked out at the dark. No one knew what to do. We had no more coin, no fish to give, no names to tell. The big man's rules stood, and we stood here trapped by our own quiet. The fire kept burning, but it gave no warmth that night, only shadows that danced. We watched them move. The fire died down to ash. Cold bit the air. Sun came up slow. It laid a flat light on the camp. No one had much to say. Bellies were tight. Then a shout came from the river gate. Ben stood up first. His face was gray. Others followed, moving slow, like old folk. A guard stood there, one of the big man's men. His boots were mud-stained. He held a paper, a long list. He did not look at us. He read the names aloud, but we had no names. That was the rule here, no past, just us. The guard read 10 names, names that were not ours. These folk, he said, they left without paying. He looked up then. His eyes were small. The river is closed, he said, till the debt is paid. What debt? Ben asked. His voice was rough. A debt of coin, the guard said, or a debt of hands. Things change. The ground shifts. What was yours yesterday might not be today. Sometimes you just watch it happen. The guard pointed. We need 10 workers for the big man's mines till the coin is paid. A hush fell, a heavy sound. Who would go? We had no names. We were all just us. Ben looked at the ground, then at us. A young man stepped forward, small, thin arms. He had no name. We called him Dust. He always wore gray. Another stepped up. A woman. Her hands were strong. She worked the looms. One by one, 10 folk. They walked to the guard. They did not look back. The gate swung open, just enough for them to pass. Then it shut. With a clang, we stood there, watching the closed gate. No one spoke. The sun climbed higher, but it brought no warmth. Only the cold weight of the day. The gate stayed shut. A cold slab of metal. We waited a bit. No one moved. Ben made a low sound, not a word, just a breath let out. We went back to the fields. The sun was up. The ground was hard, 10 fewer folk. The work did not stop, it just grew. Each day the row of wheat felt longer. The buckets of water grew heavier. Dust's bed was empty, so was the loom woman's. Their things were still there, a gray shirt, a spool of thick thread. No one touched them. The elder spoke at dusk. His voice was flat. The mine needs the coin paid. He looked at us. The work must meet the needs. He wrote in a book, a big leather-bound thing. He called it the ledger. Each day our work put marks in it. So many marks for weeding, so many for weaving. Before it felt like numbers. Now it felt like weight. The food line got shorter. The stew was thin. Some folk tried to work faster. Sweat dripped on the earth. It dried quick. I saw the elder watch us. His eyes were like stones. He made more marks in the book. More work needed. More coin owed. It makes you wonder. What is yours? What can ever be truly yours? You just keep going. The wind blew dust through the camp. It found its way into everything. Our clothes, our food, our mouths. The water barrels emptied quicker. No one asked why, just filled them again. The well went down a bit each day. The guard came back a week later, not the same one. A big man. He had a look like steel. He held a paper. 5 more needed, he said, for the big man's mines. He did not point. He just looked at us all. The silence was thick. A cloth held tight over a mouth. The guard stood, his boots scraped. No one moved. The elder stepped forward. His voice was low, like stones rubbing. We will see, he said. He did not look at the guard. He looked at the ground. The guard nodded once. He turned, walked away. The dust settled behind him. We waited. The sun beat down. The air felt thick. The elder went to his tent. He took out the book. The big one, the one with all the names. He sat on his stool. His finger moved down the pages, slow. We watched him. No one spoke. The children stayed close to their mothers. He called out 5 names, one by one, softly. A woman dropped her basket. Fruit rolled out. No one picked it up. A young man gripped his shovel. His knuckles went white. An old man just stared at the sky, his mouth hung open. They did not argue, they did not shout, they just moved. They gathered their small packs, a blanket, a cup, a bit of dry bread. Their steps were heavy. They walked past us, away from the camp, towards the hills, where the mines were. The sun made their shadows long, then they were gone. The next day the work started again. Harder, 5 fewer hands, the field stretched out, the same size. We dug, we carried water, we pounded grain. The quiet was different, it felt wider. The stew was thinner still, small bowls. The elder made more marks in his book. His face was still. I saw him touch a page once, just a brush. Then he closed it. The wind still blew dust. It stung the eyes. The well went lower, a bit more each day. Sometimes late at night a sound carried from the hills. A dull boom, then quiet. It made the ground shake a little. You know, sometimes you just keep working. You look at your hands. They are yours, at least you think so. The coins still came in, not much, for the metal dug from the earth. The big man's guards watched the road. Their eyes were sharp. More food arrived from outside, big sacks. It did not last long. The camp felt smaller. The circles of light at night were tighter. We ate, we slept, we worked. The dust covered everything, a fine layer. It felt like it grew thicker each day. It settled on the faces, on the tools, on the book. The dust settled on the faces, on the tools, on the book. One morning the sun felt sharp, not warm. The well bucket scraped. It brought up mud, just mud. The big man came out. He stood by the well. His boots made no sound. He just watched the mud. Later a new fence went up. Rough wood posts. Barbed wire. It cut off the old path to the higher ground. Some people grumbled low, not loud. Their shoulders slumped a bit more. The sound from the hills came more often. A boom, then earth shiver. It made the mugs rattle. More men arrived, not ours. They wore coats, carried short sticks. They watched us work. The big man's book stayed closed on his desk. A heavy thing, the coins still came for the metal, but less food arrived from outside. The sacks grew smaller. We ate thin soup. Bread was hard. Some children cried at night. Small, quiet sounds. The wind blew colder. The dust got everywhere. It got in your mouth. It grit between your teeth. I saw a woman try to plant seeds. Her fingers dug in the dry earth. The ground broke like old bread. Nothing grew. She sat there a long time, just looking at her hands. Sometimes you think about what you had, the quiet fields, the full well, then you just get up and you sweep the dust. One day the big man opened his book. He dipped a pen, made marks. His face was still. He pointed at a name. A man who worked the mine. The man packed his few things, walked down the road. No one stopped him. Then another name. Then another. The line of men grew longer. The big man never looked up from his page, just marked the names. The booms from the hills stopped. The air felt too quiet. The remaining men worked harder. Their backs bent low. The tools felt heavier. The well was dry. Water came in drums now. Big metal drums from the outside. We paid for it with the metal, the last of it. The big man's guards had gone. The fence was still there. The camp felt truly empty now. The dust blew freely through open doors. The book lay open on the desk, its pages blank white. The big man was gone too, just the silence and the dust I had held. Days slid past, weeks. The mine mouth stayed dark, no booms now, no heavy carts. The dust still blew, but not from work, just the wind. Old man Finch still swept his porch. Every morning, dust piled again by noon. The young men, the ones left, they looked at the hills. Not with the fire their fathers had, just a flat stare. Some tried the dirt, they dug rows, put seeds in. The sun beat down, the dirt was hard. What grew was small, not much. The women tended what they had, cooked little meals. The metal drums still brought water, but less often. The money for it was thin, no metal to trade, only promises or bits of old ore, worth less each time. Then the young ones began to leave, one by one, not like the marked men. No big book, no name called, just a nod goodbye, a worn bag over a shoulder. They walked the road. The same road the marked men took, but they looked ahead, not back. Their steps were light. The older folk watched them go. Their faces were like stone, no words, just the long look. Then they turned back to the dry rows, to the quiet houses. The youngest children played with sticks in the dust. They drew pictures of the old machines they had never seen work. They made grinding noises with their mouths, a game they learned from the older boys. You watch them, the young ones, they don't know the first thing about the old way. It felt like something broke. Not a loud sound, more like a slow give. The big fence around the camp sagged in places. No one fixed it. The posts leaned, the wire stretched. It let the outside in, and the inside out, easy now. The dirt path to the mine grew fainter. Weeds pushed through the cracks in the old camp square. No one walked there much anymore. The storehouse door swung open, a slow creak with the wind, always open now, just the air moving through it like a cold breath. No goods, only shadows and the smell of old wood. The older folks still met in the mess hall. Their voices were low. They sat at the long wooden tables, the same tables they built with their own hands. They spoke of the drought, the bad soil, they spoke of hard times coming. Their hands traced patterns on the worn wood. Their eyes often went to the door. No one new came in. The chairs stood empty, more and more each night. The younger ones did not gather there. They sat near the river, on the flat, warm stones. They watched the water run past. They threw small rocks. To see the rings spread, they spoke in whispers, or they just looked out, past the fence, to the hills, where the dust clouds rose in the far-off lands. From cars they heard pass, but never saw. Old man Silas still spoke of the great plan. He sat on his porch, mending nets that had no fish to catch. His words were heavy, like stones in a sack. He spoke of the founding days, of purpose, of a better way. The young ones would walk past, their heads down, or they would smile, a quick, thin thing, and hurry on to the river, or beyond. One day I saw a girl. Her name was Wren. Small hands, quick feet. She was by the fence, near the sag. She had a small bag made of rough cloth. It held just a few things, a clean shirt, a hard loaf of bread, a small, smooth stone. She looked at the gap, her shadow long. It stretched out, away from the camp. It makes you wonder, doesn't it, what holds people in a place? What pushes them to go? Is it the ground beneath their feet or the air they breathe? She stepped through the wire. No one called out. The wind picked up. It moved the dust. Her steps were soft. They left no mark. She did not look back, just walked to the hills, towards the dust and the sound of cars. The sun was hot. It burned the land, made the air shimmer. She was gone, just like that. The fence stayed open, the gap wide. It let the sun beat in, and the emptiness grow. The old machines rusted a little more. Each day, under the bright, hard sky, the gap in the fence stayed. It swayed in the wind. No one fixed it. Days turned into weeks. The dust blew through. Empty beds stayed empty. Fewer hands worked the ground. The fields grew weeds. The water pump creaked. Its sound was all alone. Old man Silas watched the road. He sat on the porch. His eyes stayed fixed. They did not move. His hands rested on his knees. Rough hands. The sun moved across the sky. It moved slow. You know, it's a strange thing to see a place change, like a slow breath leaving a body. You watch it happen. You can't quite say why. The young ones left too, one by one. They packed small bags, same kind of bags. They walked the same path, towards the hills, towards the sound of cars. The camp got quiet, too quiet. The mess hall chairs sat empty, dust settled on the tables. The cook stopped baking bread. There was no one left to eat it. The air grew heavy, a smell of old wood and dry earth. Silas still watched. He kept watching. He did not speak much, just breathed the dust in and breathed it out. The fence sagged more. The wire broke in other spots. The wind blew harder now. It sang through the holes, a low, keen sound. The gate was wide open. It did not close again. The path to the road got worn from all the feet going out. None came back in. The crops withered. The tools lay where they dropped. Rust spread like a sickness under the sun. The silence grew. It felt thick now. It pressed down on the camp like a stone. The sun still climbed high. It still beat down. The water pump stood dry. Its handle rusted stiff. No one drew water anymore. A few people stayed, not many. They moved slow, like shadows. Their faces wore the dust and the sun. They did not work the fields. They sat on porch steps. They watched the road. Silas still watched. He sat by the old gate. His eyes never left the horizon. He coughed sometimes. A dry sound. The old book lay open on the table inside his hut. Its pages were yellow. The ink faded. No one read from it now, not out loud. The words it held, they felt like old bones, brittle, easy to break. Children stopped their lessons. Their voices no longer carried from the small schoolhouse. That building sagged too, like everything else. One day a truck came from the outside. It was big, shiny, not like their old things. It stopped at the gate. A man got out. He wore clean clothes. He held a folder. He spoke to Silas. Silas did not answer. He just looked at the man's shoes. The man talked more. He pointed towards the cabins. The wind picked up. It blew dust in their faces. The man looked at the dry fields. He shook his head. He talked about papers and titles and laws, words Silas did not use, words from the outside. The man left marks on a paper with a pen. He showed it to Silas. Silas looked at the ground. The man shrugged. He got back in his truck. The engine roared, a loud sound. It drove off, towards the main road. Silas stood by the gate. He watched it go. He did not close the gate. It felt like a change. A cold wind, not from the weather. Do you know what it feels like to watch the color drain from a whole place? You barely see it go. After the truck, things shifted more. The few left. They started to pack bags, small bundles. They walked out. One by one, towards the road, towards the sound of cars. They did not look back. Silas was still there, by the gate. He sat on a stump, his hands on his knees. He watched them leave. The sun made long shadows. The day cooled. He kept watching, even when the road was empty. The dust rose. It fell back down. The wind sang its keen song through the broken fence. Silas sat on the stump. The last car sound died. The road grew dark. He watched the light fade. The air turned cold, a deep chill. He stood up slow. His legs felt stiff. The gate was still open. He did not close it. He walked back inside the yard. The house looked dark, no lamps on, no fire smoke. He went to his own door. It stood ajar. He pushed it open. The room was cold, a dry smell like old paper. He lit a small lantern. Its light shook. He saw dust motes dance. His bed was unmade. A thin blanket, a worn pillow. He sat on the edge. The mattress sank. He heard the wind outside. It whistled low through a broken window pane somewhere. The silence inside pressed in. No one moved. No one spoke. No steps upstairs. No cough from the next room. Just the wind and his own breath. He walked through the small hall, past other doors, all open, all dark. He peered into one, a child's room. A small wooden horse lay on the floor, on its side, one wheel loose. No toys on the shelf, no clothes, just a bare room. The wood floor gleamed dully. He moved on to the big room where they used to meet. The long table stood bare. No books, no cups, just the table and chairs pushed in. The air felt thin. Sometimes you just watch it go, like sand through fingers, and you can't hold it, not even a grain. He walked to the window, looked out. The field stretched black. The moon was a sliver, a pale light. He saw the empty barn, the dark shapes of the woods, no light anywhere else. He stood a long time, his hands in his pockets. The cold soaked into him from the floor up. He did not move, just stood. The night deepened. The stars came out, many of them, small white points, high above the empty place. He did not turn from the window. The gate was still open. He stood. Cold bit his ears. He turned slow. The big room was dark. He walked to the door, pulled it shut. No lock clicked, it just settled. He stepped outside. The ground was hard. Frost crunched under his boots. He walked towards the gate, looked back at the house. A black shape against the stars, no lights, just dark windows. He reached the gate, touched the metal post. It felt like ice. A small piece of cloth hung there, caught on a barb, blue thread. He pulled it free, held it in his palm. It was thin, worn, small. You see things, they happen, you just watch it go. Sometimes there's nothing to do. He let the cloth drop, opened the gate wider, stepped through, did not look back. The road was long, the sky still dark. He just kept walking. The fields waited, quiet under the moon. No sound but his own steps. One foot then the other, towards the faraway glow of town. A pale smear on the horizon. The gate swung a bit, then rested open. The gate stayed open. A cold wind came through it. It blew dust. Dust rose from the track. The sun came up slow. It touched the house. The walls looked gray, no smoke from the chimney. The windows were black squares, glass held the dark inside. No one walked the path, no one called out. The field stretched wide, weeds grew tall, their dry stalks rattled. A door on the barn hung loose. It swung a little, then it stopped. A bird landed on the roof. It sat there, then it flew off. The quiet grew big, it filled the air. You hear a thing like that, it sits with you, it stays. The days turned, one after another. The cold bit harder, snow fell, it covered the ground, it made soft mounds. The gate posts stood up, white hats on their tops. The road vanished under the white, the house slept. A long, deep sleep, no sign of life, just the wind pushing at the walls. You watch a place go still. You see it happen. No one makes a sound. The small garden plot. Its fence was broken. Vines lay dead. Brown, thin things, nothing moved for weeks. Then the thaw came. Water ran in small streams. It cut new paths. The mud was thick. The fields turned dark again. A truck came one morning. Its tires left deep ruts. It stopped by the gate. A man got out. He wore a heavy coat. He did not look up. He walked to the house. He had a metal box. He went inside. The door shut fast. He stayed a long time. The truck idled. Its engine coughed. Smoke puffed out. He came back out. The box was heavier. He got in the truck, drove away. The ruts stayed there. Wet dark lines. The gate still hung open. The ruts stayed there. Wet dark lines. The gate still hung open. Days passed. The sun got higher. The mud in the ruts dried. It turned hard. Cracks spread across the dirt. Wind blew dust over everything. The house stood still. Its windows were dark like closed eyes. The porch boards creaked. A loose door rattled in the breeze. Another truck came. It was bigger this time. Green paint. 3 men got out. They wore thick gloves. They carried big tools, a sledgehammer, a crowbar. One man held a sheet of paper. He looked at the house. He walked the fence line. He did not speak. They started to work. They took the garden fence down first. Wood splintered. They pulled at the shed roof. Tin sheets fell off. They made a loud noise. One man swung the hammer. It hit a window. Glass bits scattered. A clean, sharp sound. They worked slow. They sat in the truck for a time, drank water from plastic bottles. The sun beat down. Their shirts stuck to their backs. They loaded the truck. Bent metal, broken wood, old pipe. They took the stairs off the porch. The porch sagged. They left late. The truck engine coughed. It grumbled down the road. Dust rose high. It settled back over the empty space. Sometimes things just go. They do not stay. You try to hold on. The dust wins out. The house stood bare now. Its walls looked thin. You could see through it in places. Rain came. It made new dark streaks on the plaster. The roof wept. Weeds grew tall. They pushed up through the floorboards. Birds flew in and out. They built nests where the ceiling used to be. Small animals made their homes inside the empty rooms. The front door hung by one hinge. It swung open and shut. A slow, quiet beat. No one came to close it. The fields went wild. Thorns took hold. The earth held its breath. It waited. The earth held its breath. It waited. Summer sun beat down. It bleached the old wood. What was left of the paint peeled. It came off in thin curls. Wind pushed through the broken panes. It sang a low tune. Sometimes a whole window fell in. The glass broke into sharp bits on the floor. Dust lay thick on everything. It covered the old cook stove. It filled the empty jars. One day a part of the roof gave way. It crashed with a deep sound. The house looked more like a mouth now, open to the sky. Rain poured straight inside. It pooled on the floorboards. The wood softened. It gave underfoot. More weeds found their way in. They grew green and strong. A man came once. He drove a flatbed truck. He looked at the house. He walked the fields. He had a pencil and a small pad. He wrote things down. He did not touch anything, just looked. His boots crunched on the gravel path. He left a week later. The truck made deep tracks in the soft earth. The tracks stayed. You watch things go on. Things break. They fall apart. That is what they do. The fields went to seed. Tall stalks swayed in the breeze. Birds flew in thick clouds. They ate the seeds. They dropped new ones. New plants grew. Different plants. A new kind of green took hold. The old fence posts bowed. Some fell over. The wire lay on the ground. A deer came to eat the tall grass. It walked right through the open door. It stood in the old kitchen. It sniffed the air. Then it walked out again. It stood in the old kitchen. It sniffed the air. Then it walked out again. Days went by. The sun beat down, rain fell hard, it washed the dirt smooth. More roof tiles slipped, they hit the ground, a soft thud, dust rose up. The wind whistled through the gaps, it pulled at the loose wood, paint peeled off in strips, thin curls of white. They scattered on the dry earth. A small boy came once. He wore torn pants. He pushed a toy truck. He did not look at the house. He dug in the dirt near the well. He found a smooth stone. He put it in his pocket. He turned and walked away. His feet made no sound. The house just stood there. It soaked up the sun. It grew darker inside. Shadows stretched long. You see, things just keep going. No one fixes them. They just wait. The porch sagged more. A post leaned further. It groaned when the wind blew strong. One night a fox snuck in. It smelled something small, a mouse perhaps. It moved quiet. Its paws made no sound on the floorboards. It left nothing behind, just the scent of wild fur. The cold came. The ground froze hard. Then it thawed. Water ran in small streams. It cut new paths in the yard. No one lit a fire there anymore. No smoke rose from the chimney, just cold air. A crow built a nest high up in the eaves. It watched everything below. The next year came. The crow left. New birds built other nests. Wind tore at the house. Rain got in. It stained the walls. Water ran down. It darkened the wood. The roof sagged more. A window pane broke. Then another. Glass lay on the ground. No one swept it up. Weeds grew tall. They climbed up the porch. They pushed through cracks. The garden disappeared. It was just green mess. Sometimes cars slowed down. People looked. They pointed. They drove on. No one stopped. No one walked up the path. The path itself faded. Grass covered it. The front door stayed shut. The back door hung open a bit now. It creaked in the breeze. Cold air moved inside. It lifted dust. It stirred old papers. A dry, soft sound, like a whisper with no words. You see how things go. They just slip away. Nothing holds them. The seasons turned many times. More roof tiles fell. The brick chimney began to crumble. Small piles of red dust lay on the ground. A tree limb grew too long. It scratched the window glass. Year after year, the marks deepened. One day a part of the porch roof collapsed. It fell with a soft thud. No one heard it. The house just stood. It watched the sky, empty. It watched the wild growth, silent. The things inside settled into soft, slow decay. A bowl lay on the floor. It had once held berries. Now it held dry leaves, nothing more. What was left? Just the wood, the stone, the empty air, the quiet spread. Weeds pushed through the cracks in the stone path. Their green shoots were strong. They lifted small rocks. The old garden went wild. Tomato plants once stood tall there. Now just tangled vines. Tough grass grew thick. It covered the well stone. The pump handle rusted red. Rain washed the paint from the walls. It dripped in steady lines. The wood turned gray. Then it went soft. Rot took hold. A small animal made a home in the pantry. You could hear scratching. Always at night. It was small. Then it grew bigger. More sounds. The floorboards groaned when wind came in. Some floorboards pulled loose. No one fixed them. No one came back for their things. A worn blanket lay on a bed frame. It became thin threads. The sun beat down. Dusk grew heavy. You think you know things. Then time moves on. It changes what you saw. It changes what you heard. The old gate fell from its posts. It lay in the long grass. The road itself grew faint. Just 2 ruts now. Grass filled them in. More trees grew at the road edge. Their branches reached. They touched across the path. The light grew dim there. The path was hard to find. It was harder to follow. The fields turned to scrub. Small bushes took root. They fought the tall weeds. They fought the older trees. People spoke of the place less and less. Their voices softened. The words got lost. Some kept a small stone or a dried flower, a flat, smooth rock from the stream, a piece of the clay pot. They held them tight. They held them close. Then they put them away in a box under other things. The box got dusty. The memories grew thin like old cloth. You could almost see through it, but some dreams, they do not die. They just move on. They find a new start in a quiet heart. They wait.